Well, welcome back to part two of human resources and managing your career. And now we're going to look at a little bit more in depth of managing your career. Congratulations, you got that job that you've wanted. You're into it for a while. So, what are some things we can do to better manage our career and have a successful one? Some of the worst work habits that we want to avoid. Procrastination. Advisory committees tell us, bosses tell us that one of the biggest pet peeves, if you will, are finishing work very late or right at the deadline. And friends, that does not get you much respect, certainly if you're working in teams. And if you have that project, you've got to get it done, just like your business model project, which I know is almost complete. Procrastination is a career killer. Also, let's look at sloppy emailing and just the etiquette of email. Back in the day, you had official memorandums that you had to read. Today, we know that emails are considered the official channel of communication within the organization. And yes, we are inundated by emails every day in the workplace. Be careful. Be careful on that reply all. If you look at your PowerPoint and the booklet that I've given you, again, misspelling, little I's, just very sloppy emailing, and can get you in trouble, certainly when you're emailing back to customers, because they will complain. Be careful on reply all. Do you want everyone to know that, hey, dude, that was great? It fills up a lot of email boxes as well. So those two right there are not great habits to have. What about this one? Confusing the informal with the disrespectful. You see, you may not be at a work setting. Let's say you're at a restaurant, you're out of the town, you're at a ball game, you're at a picnic, and you come up and you start saying, you treat your boss too informally. Be careful. Your boss is still your boss no matter where you are. Now, my advice to you would be to never go out on company outings or the bars on Friday and things like that. All right, you work with these people all week long. Do you really want them to know all about your personal life? That's interesting right there. They're still your boss, my friends, even though you think it's just a great time and I can just say anything I want to say. Never try to show up your supervisors or their loved ones. Okay? They have partners, and their partners, their spouses, their children will say, man, that Randy, golly, he never shut up the whole time. I can't stand him. And that gets back to the boss, and it puts you in a different light. Always be respectful and keep yourself out of situations that can really, really hurt you. Taking advantage of leeway, work schedules as you're on your job for quite a while. Hey, what if I just come in at 10 and leave at 3 with some breaks? That's not great for your reputation. Hitting the games, and of course today it's hitting all your social media up during work. Be very careful because there are eyes everywhere, my friends. What about dress? Yeah, I mean, there is, until we're all great millennials that can come in our pajamas and shorts every day. I mean, that would be fun. But you've got 5 generations in the workplace. You still have some traditionalists. You have a lot of baby boomers. We've talked about that. And their perspective is that you dress for the position, and of course you come on time and you leave on time. So be careful of that dress casual. What will never get you in trouble is always dress one step better than expected. And right now, you may start wanting to dress for the job that you want. Gentlemen, never. Please don't do that. You must watch Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and learn some style. Be careful. That's a scene from The Office as Meredith. What's wrong with my outfit? Everything. The Contrarian. Acting as a resident contrarian. All right, that's fine for college professors like myself, but not in the workplace that you're going to be in. If you're the person in the meeting who says, you know what, I have a lot better idea than you do. I'm not sure about that. I do it this way. That continual negative comments can make you look negative. And again, perception becomes reality. Stay away from that. Always give the praise. Hey, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I'd like to be on that project. I'd like to work with you there. Be careful of the contrarian. What about politicking? What about bad mouthing the company? Again, I think we've said this. When you put your thoughts on the biggest beasts of communication in the world, people are going to see it. And so if you wouldn't want to stand outside your boss's door and say how much you hate the company, why would we do that on our social media? So be very careful. Also, this is a big one. Don't mention your job searches on your social media sites, if you're still employed, of course. So if you're working for an organization and you're looking for another job actively and it's public, that could be grounds for termination, because that's probably hidden somewhere in the employee contract that you signed when you were hired, that you will not actively pursue other engagements of occupation. So be very careful. Now, if somebody comes to you, that's why a very good LinkedIn page, you'll have those hits coming to you, and that's a different story. But don't put it out there. I got to find a new job because I can't stand this one. Your organization may give you all the time in the world to look for that new job. There's the politicking. You know what? We know that the grapevine does have a lot of information. And if your culture of the organization you work for is not that great and the communication is fragmented, sometimes that's the only way that you do hear things. But just be careful of inciting, instigating the drama, because that will get you burned. It really will. And it is very difficult to ever clean up a bad reputation. Other things in your career, you know, you do need to mingle. You do need to know other people better, and not the ones that look just like you, of course, or your age group. There's a lot of diversity in the workplace. Get to know other departments. Your job as a leader is to really forge great relationships, and those are invaluable when you need somebody from IT, somebody from accounting, somebody from human resources, somebody from marketing, sales, etc. Get to know other people versus just passing by every day. We talked about this in the meetings, my friends. Time from a baby boomer's perspective or a traditionalist's perspective means you're there 10 minutes early. To a different generation, a millennial, as Easter, it may be, hey, I showed up before the meeting ended, so I'm cool. Be careful. It really speaks volume that you don't respect the person who called the meeting. And of course, we talked about your phones and texting during that. Hopefully, you know how to run a meeting now, and it can be very efficient. But going late to meetings, we hear this all the time from our advisory committee personnel members that really gets them upset, and they're representative of that baby boom and some Gen X generation. How about this one? Hey, I quit. Be careful. New opportunities. Why would you never leave a job before you accept a new position? And that means I quit, I'll just go find a job myself. Now, I know we've all felt that way, and some of us feel that way maybe every day. But be careful. Here's why you never want to do that. And I get a lot of good feedback here in the classroom. Well, you need money all the time, and if you don't have any, you're going to take the first job offered to you. That's very true. And you really do not want gaps of unemployment throughout your career. I think you can get away with a couple of months, but when it gets closer to 6 months, you've got some explaining to do. But here's the big reason. You are worth more to another organization if you're currently employed. Okay? So, if you're not employed, I don't have to pay you as much. Right. So, here comes Randy. He's quit his job, and maybe someone was willing to pay me $100,000 because I was making 90. All right, $10,000 more, and it was a good position. Okay, I'm going to hit that job. Now, does that organization need to pay me $100,000? They may say, Randy's been out of work for a while. We know him. He's in our industry. We would like to get him, but I don't have to spend 100 grand. I could probably go down to 85, maybe 80, maybe 75 or 70, depending how desperate I am. That is why your worth is much more when you are employed. Now, there are times when you may have a job that is terrible, that is, unethical and illegal things are happening. I get it. You got to get out. But if you if all things remain the same and you can keep that job, keep it before you get another one. Uh, keep it and then get another one. Don't quit. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. Remember, in contract law, by me saying something, you know what? If you want my resignation, you can have it. My brother did this a few years ago. Older brother, of course. And he was upset. He was mad. And he told me, please tell your students that don't ever do what I did. It was a phone call right before his vacation. And he and his boss, it was contentious, but my brother is excellent in business-to-business sales. And so he did mention that. He said, you know what? If you want my resignation, I'll give it to you. And the boss immediately said, Rory, I accept your resignation immediately. And that was a contract. Please don't let those emotions get the best of you. He did end up finding a better job, but it did take a while and it was a hard time. So never leave unless you've got that great business idea, and I hope you do. Proactive steps. What should we be doing? Hey, when you get that job, what I would say is ask for the evaluation criteria for that position. All right? Therefore, we know how to write goals and objectives now. You can verify and write your yearly performance goals based upon your evaluation. So when you're on that job and you get that in the first couple of weeks, hey, could I have the evaluation criteria? Make sure you create a project that you would like to do, okay, during your performance period. I can assure you, if you don't have the initiative or any ideas coming forth and you just say, I'm just working here, somebody will probably, it'll be your boss, give you a project that you may not like. So beat them to the punch. If it's close enough in your field, make sure that you are the one controlling the narrative. Managing your career, I mentioned this in the 5 keys of success, is a culture of evidence. You've got to document all your work. I know many of you are very tech savvy. So again, create your documents, convert them to PDFs, convert them into binders. But everything you've done, your projects, professional development, the sales, the awards, the achievement, everything. That way you can take that to your performance evaluation review. You can also take this to another organization that you might want to work for. What should your career look like, my friends? What do you want to do? Do you want to be in the spotlight? Is work everything to you? Everyone knows who you are, the good and the bad. Do you want to fly under the radar, perform your work with excellence without making a lot of noise, and have a greater life outside work? And I think that's why that personal mission statement is so important for you. If you write that down, it really helps you map out how your career trajectory, because it's going to happen fast. Again, you beautiful teens and under 25, you're going to get to 35 to 40 very quickly. And those of us who are somewhere around that 35-year-old range, it goes so fast. So make sure you're controlling the narrative. So I think this is good right in here. You may want to put down, I've given you the notes. So what should you be doing in your 20s? Well, all things being equal, you're finalizing your degree, you're graduating, be that your associates, your bachelor's, your master's, if you can. Sometimes it does take later in life. But get that out of the way. Did I start that business in my late 20s? Did I get that going? Here comes my 30s. Here comes my 40s, okay? What trajectory do you want to be on? Somewhere in your 50s, you should know your trajectory. Your life, your work span is going to be a little bit shortened right in now. I think many of us will be working into our 70s. Keep yourself, and this is just what I have seen in life, keep yourself in the best shape physically as possible, because my Zesters, you're going to be working into your 70s. Social Security it's going to be prolong your retirement. But that's great. Who wants to sit home and do nothing? Some of us, I mean, we're doing that right now and going crazy in the house, not being able to do what we normally do. So keep yourself in great health. Look at that. What do you want to achieve in this decade, this decade, this decade, this decade, and this decade? Certainly does help. Build the network. Yes, this is what we should be doing. Keeping that digital footprint clean and always learning new things. I love Coursera. I hope you will hit that. These are some of the biggest universities are part of Coursera, and you can either get a subscription or do an individual course for anywhere from $25 to $95, and you get a digital certificate and a digital badge, and you can learn it coursework very, very fast. So always keep learning. As you progress in your career and as you are a manager, you're probably going to have to you're going to take your performance appraisal systems. You're going to have to appraise your employees, and you will be appraised as an employee. So we're trying to objectively evaluate employees. The goal is to improve performance. When a written evaluation, that's what they are. That's the record keeping. It also it allows you to fire somebody, and that is not a pleasant thing to do. I've had to do it in my career, and I needed help from Human Resource Department, and they basically said, "Well, good luck. We really don't have a clear way of doing something." So I went to my father, and he said, "This is how you do. This is how you can terminate someone. First, it has to be a poor appraisal. Your employee has consistently delivered poor performance throughout the appraisal period. Okay, so they have to develop what is called a personal improvement plan. Maybe that's called a PIP for where you work for that employee. That's what you've got to do. You have to outline the expectations for the next year. I can assure you, if someone is not performing well and they're working for you and it's driving you crazy, you give someone enough rope and they will generally always hang themselves with it. So, you did the appraisal. That takes guts right there. Many managers will not do it. They say, "Oh, everything is fine. I love you, and let's just get on with it." Say, "Hey, this is what has to happen." Well, are they going to mess up again? Yes. A verbal warning. All right. Now, this is a very elongated process, but it will work for you as long as you work it right. Performance is not improving. Take that employee into your office. Clearly state in a verbal warning. If performance does not improve within a written time frame, it's a written warning. And again, this could go right to a written warning. This is just a elongated step. You document that, and you send that to your supervisor. You copy the employee's file, and you may want to have a witness. I would suggest you do. Certainly, when there's gender differences here. If it's a female employee and I'm the male that's reprimanding, I would have a female manager from another department, come as a witness, or that could be my supervisor. You don't want to leave anything to chance, vice versa as well. Write up. Okay. Again, they may be hanging themselves. This is the second offense. It's a written response, clearly stating the problem and actions needed to remedy. If not corrected, you will receive a final warning. Yes, you need to get your ducks in a row, your supervisor's consent and performance. Employee must sign the document and copies to HR, your supervisor and HR. Now, what if that employee says, "I'm not signing that thing"? Okay, well, then you write on there with a witness, "Randy refused to sign this write-up." Date it and witnessed by your supervisor. Somebody else, but not a coworker, not one of their coworkers. Then they think you're ganging up on them. So, final warning again. Employee is just putting the noose around themselves. All documents to the meeting. Something's going on. Again, now this is poor performance. All right. So this is not a case that someone is doing something illegal. You do not have to have these steps. You can immediately terminate on those grounds. If they're looking on websites that are restricted, they shouldn't be on, selling secrets, stealing, etc., etc. But this is just somebody who's just a kind of that bad apple who does not perform well, but just does enough not to get fired. This is one way to smoke them out. Your supervisor witnesses it. Employee signs. Again, if they don't sign, you can witness that event with your supervisor. And now it comes to termination. One more mistake, and for some organizations, this could be flattened quite a bit. But with these 5 steps, you know you've done everything right. You have 30 minutes to leave. This is termination. I have seen this too often. Well, can you give me a week? Can I stay here a couple of hours? I'm going to come back after work. No, you have a box. You get to fill it up. 30 minutes, maybe too much. Security, or if you have police on duty, which we do, will be there to escort them out, and then they may be escorted back in under police for 30 minutes. That's all they get. And hopefully, HR is got your back on this one. So this works, my friends, as well as you allow it to work. It has to be time limited. Okay, it can't be 2 or 3 years, and what's the point? It's got to be within the course of a year, between appraisal periods. That's how you save yourself. The more you delay this, again, I had to do it. It was not pleasant at all in my younger days. And when I did, the team came up to me and said, "Man, thank you. We just could not work with that person any longer than we did. They were just, abusing every privilege they had, and come in at different times." And so I became a hero real quick. I really did. Now, if you didn't do it this way, who gets fired? Yeah, you do. If you, as a manager, just say, "You know what, Randy, you're fired today." For what grounds? And you didn't have your paperwork, your documentation in place. I've seen that happen. And they've called, "You have wrongly fired me," and the manager is the one that can be escorted out. So, yeah, there we are. Use that process. Again, I got that from my father, who had to work for a defense contracting, so worked with civil service. And those 5 events right there. Hey, he also did the 5 keys of success, the 5 keys to fire somebody. How about that? It does save you, and it's not pleasant, but at least you have a system to hit that. We are going to stop there. That is our part 2 for our human resources. We're going to come back and we're going to look on a positive note. All right, we ended on the termination, wasn't so pleasant, but we're going to look at motivating the workplace. One of your big decisions that you do as a manager is how to motivate your team.